So we were going to do offensive grades.
We're saving that.
Pushing
it back.
Ixnay offensive grades, they weren't good. That's just a hint. And they shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Instead, we're going to talk about the defensive coordinator because right now, at least, it looks like the list of names that we've put together to bring in for interviews is a pretty solid list. Everybody that you would want to be on that list, as far as I can think of, is on that list. Bull, where are they in this hunt? And they are moving quickly, and there's a need to move quickly.
They do, and if you look at the 4 candidates we know they're interviewing, including the 2 they're specifically interviewing, Jim Schwartz today and Brian Flores tomorrow. Then the guy from the Seahawks whose name just escaped
Sean
me.
Desai.
Sean Desai. And
Jerod
Mayo for the Patriots. All of those 4 guys, Sean Desai is the only one who's got a team in the playoffs, the Seahawks,
right?
And they probably won't be in the playoffs for long. But the top 2 candidates, I heard from a source yesterday who said that Schwartz and Flores are the top 2 candidates.
Yes.
They both have the most experience. You think about Jim Schwartz, and I was anti-Jim Schwartz, I think earlier in the year. Earl reminded me of that. I've come around on it. Flores is my top choice, but what I do like about Schwartz is that he's been either a head coach or a coordinator for basically the last 20 years.
Yeah. Which means he's entrenched as a very good defensive mind.
And if you're a player, you got to respect that. And that Eagles defense, when he got to Philly, was not good.
At all.
And they won the Super Bowl.
Right.
With Nick Foles as quarterback. Now, Nick Foles played great in that postseason. I give him his credit. But that defense was phenomenal. Now, eventually it tailed off, and Schwartz got pushed out with, what's his name? I can't think of his name.
Peterson.
Yeah. But he overall has done a very good job in his career. Did take the Lions to the playoffs once as a head coach. Overall wasn't good as a head coach. But as a DC was really good.
Yeah, the head coach record is awful.
No. The Patriot guys as head coaches
We've
suck.
said on this show a million times, just because you're a great coordinator doesn't automatically make you a great head coach.
Yeah.
We've seen that a million times.
Yes. Sorry,
and
Schwartz,
he's that guy.
Schwartz wasn't a Patriot guy, but he did start his career with the Browns under Belichick.
He did.
Yeah,
He
correct.
did.
So a Belichick guy originally.
He is in that tree.
Yeah.
It's funny when you look at Schwartz and Flores, by the way, because they are 2 completely different philosophically minded defensive coordinators.
Yeah.
Schwartz is a guy who's going to rush 4 and play 7 in coverage, and Flores blitzes as much as any defensive coordinator in the league.
Yeah.
Back in 2021, when he was the head coach of the Dolphins, they led the NFL in blitz percentage. 42% of pass plays they blitzed on, which has only been topped once in the last 20 years since PFF tracked it. This year by the Giants and Wink Martindale, who blitzed every play because they had literally no one on defense.
I will say, though,
pressure.
He had the tools to do that in Miami.
He did, and you need 2
when
great
we watched
cornerbacks
the primetime game against the
secondary.
Ravens,
Yeah.
and he just decided, we're playing cover 0. Our guys can match up with your guys, and we're bringing the house.
Masterful.
And honestly, if you look at the arc of Lamar Jackson's career, that was the night that the blueprint was written on how you stop Lamar Jackson.
It was there. And once he blitzed him that many times, I had never Lamar Jackson was unstoppable. He was like the Vic stuff. He was the new Vic. He was faster than Vic. Yeah. He was doing what he wanted. That game, he said, "Look, we're gonna run cover 0, but we're gonna make sure you don't even know where it's coming from."
And they didn't.
I think Lamar's still good, but at the time I thought of Lamar as a tier 1 quarterback. I don't anymore. I think of him as a tier 2
Will the
quarterback.
Ravens or any team ever win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson? Because I don't have to think long.
I would say no.
I would say no too.
But in fairness, part of the reason I believe that is because you have Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes that in this AFC, who are all young. Not to mention Deshaun Watson, hopefully,
let me ask you
and Trevor Lawrence.
Will a quarterback with that skill set ever be able to win a Super Bowl? And by that skill set, I mean the fastest guy on the field.
Yeah.
And his foot game is a 10, and his passing game might be a 7.
Can I go first while you're thinking?
Go ahead. I have.
It won't happen if his best receiver is a tight end and his wide receivers are DeMarcus Robinson.
That's what I'm talking about.
And whoever else they have. I can't even. Devin Duvernay is your number 2.
Oh, by the way,
if he has
Lamar
proper
Jackson,
weapons, maybe, but
the Ravens kind of slapped him in the face overnight. Did you see what they did?
Signed Roquan Smith
to a 5-year, $100 million contract.
Well, but that's a lot less money than he's looking for.
A lot less money, but it's resources that would have been available for a record contract signing, which is what he's looking for.
I don't know what are the Ravens going to do? They're going
to franchise him. They have no choice. But you saw the speculation as soon as the signing came out on Smith. You saw the speculation. Oh, he's going to win multiple championships with the Jets. Hey, can you imagine him in a Raiders uniform? So now the speculation mill is really churning. And I saw this was purely speculation, but it was by a reporter. I wonder how this news impacts Lamar Jackson's desire to get back on the field for this weekend.
Oh, I'm not. Listen, I ain't. Listen.
Is that fair? To ask that?
It's beautiful. That's a
I
beautiful.
think Lamar's hurt. I think it's unfair to
Jay.
question that he wants to come back.
Hey, I'm slow playing it. You know why? I'm slow walking it.
Someone said he's quiet quitting.
I'm slow walking
I
this
don't buy
thing.
that.
You know what? It does him no good.
He's in a no-win.
He's in a no-win.
I actually believe that.
If he comes back and he gets hurt, they definitely not gonna give it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're gonna say you get hurt too much. If he come back and he's healthy and he plays bad, they're gonna say, well, we can't win with a quarterback like
that. The win scenario is he comes back and beats
wins.
the Bengals.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden he's doing a Joe Flacco. I'm betting on myself.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
I don't see it happening either.
Yeah.
Particularly because he hasn't played in 6 weeks, and the injury must be pretty bad.
Yeah.
And he's like a finely tuned machine. You take one spark plug out of a Porsche, and it's not a Porsche anymore.
He's not. I heard. I can't think of anybody's name this morning, but I heard some other player who had sprained his MCL or PCL, whichever injury that Lamar has, the sprained. And he was like, even if Lamar plays, there's no way he's going to be able to do what he normally does.
I don't see it.
Because it's not been enough time.
You can't.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's a tricky spot. Jalen Hurts, they have put the talent around him.
They have. On both sides of the ball, too.
Yeah.
So could Jalen Hurts win a Super Bowl? Yeah, I mean, I guess he could. I don't love anybody in the NFC personally. I think the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs are the three best teams in the NFL. I think the Niners are great, but they have a rookie quarterback.
I never understood the Hollywood Brown trade. I didn't get it. He's a speed receiver. He's young. He's in his prime. He just got 1,000 yards.
Browns could use Hollywood Brown.
So,
He'd be a better fit than D-Hop.
Yeah, I don't want D-Hop, G.
We're going to talk about it tomorrow.
Why would you move on from him?
Yeah.
And you don't have
It's because they want to pay him.
You had Andrews. You had a guy that could kill the inside of the field. Then you had Hollywood Brown. All you got 4 or 5 run backs, and you have Lamar Jackson. Why would you do that?
Is it because the league now collectively is starting to look at wide receivers more interchangeable than they ever have before? Yeah. We saw Tennessee let go a top flight guy. A number of teams.
Stupid.
That was dumb.
It was dumb. It makes no sense. But it was funny during the draft when Tennessee drafted in the first round a wide receiver with the same height,
Traylon Burks out of Arkansas,
and everything. The first comments were made was like, "Oh, he fits the suit."
Yeah.
But that position is not just a plug and play position.
No.
Not for a special guy.
No, not. There are very few special guys, but those guys you got to keep and
the
hold
top
tightly
6, 8, 9, 10 guys, whatever it is.
And I applaud what the Eagles did. They had just drafted a receiver in the top 10. Mm-hmm. They say you never do that. They got Devontae Smith in. They looked around and said, okay, well, he's not going to do what he's supposed to do with nobody around him. They went back into the market and said, hey, let's trade for another receiver and then have to give him a contract. And looks the way it's worked.
Because you can't, I think with the quarterbacks that are, the Jalen Hurts, the Lamar Jacksons, the guys who are, I guess you'd argue, run-first quarterbacks, Justin Fields is
They need extra weapons.
Justin Fields, everybody went bananas. His passing, if you look at his passing numbers, they're lousy.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Hey, Jay, a couple Ravens points real quick.
Yeah.
This is from a interview with I Am Athlete. This is Hollywood Brown. He said he wanted to play in a different offensive system, and that his discontent began during the second NFL season. Quote, I asked him to trade me after the season. So it looks like that he was the one who requested to be traded.
But wide receivers have done that since the beginning of time.
I mean, Kareem Hunt wanted to be traded.
Typically, teams will say,
Yeah.
no, we're not trading you.
Yeah,
You're
right.
a commodity. But recently, teams have taken a different approach.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my rebuttal to that would be we remember when OBJ asked to be traded. Andrew Berry didn't trade him, and you see what type of toxic environment that created.
Although
listen, that's a dicey position because
Kareem
they're
Hunt
divas
wanted
now.
to be traded, and they didn't trade him. I know he's a running back. But,
Roquan Smith, the most guaranteed money to an inside linebacker ever. Now, Jay, I got a question for you. Take tag board for me, Steve. This was a tweet I had a couple days ago. I'm all in on Flores like everybody else. But I truly believe Flores being an alpha male, a dominant figure, and possibly a contingency plan if Stefanski fails next year, that it can have a negative impact on Kevin Stefanski, but his addition can have a positive impact on the Browns. To that you say what?
Yeah, I would not make him the head coach and fire Kevin Stefanski right now. All that being said, you guys remember in the mid-'80s when the Chicago Bears were having – I know you don't remember. Chicago Bears were having a ridiculous season. The only team that beat them was Miami. They ran
85.
the table. They won the Super Bowl.
I still can't believe they lost that game to Miami.
I can't either.
That was
a
the
Monday
best
night
team
game
I've ever seen.
And it was it was funny because Miami was playing for the 72 team.
Who did they beat in the Super Bowl? Who was the
Miami in 72?
No. Who did the Bears beat? 85 Bears beat in the Super Bowl. But who was the quarterback?
Grogan?
No.
Who was the quarterback? Oh, Eason?
Tony Eason.
Yeah, Tony Eason.
The Bears destroyed every opponent in the playoffs.
Well, they beat them like 55.
But not just that game.
They beat everybody.
The entire postseason, they killed everybody.
Off of everybody. But the reason I bring that up
They
is
hated
because
each other, right?
there was a lot of infighting on that team between the defense and the offense. There really was a divide.
Yeah.
I've watched a couple documentaries, and I've even talked to some of the
Ditka
players.
and Buddy Ryan hated each other.
They did, but Ditka didn't hate Ryan. Ditka had what Ryan wanted.
Yes.
Which was the head coaching job. And all of the defensive players wanted Ryan to be their head coach because Ditka was a ball buster. Yeah. He was hard on those guys. He would almost never compliment them. It was clearly a good cop, bad cop, and it worked. When things went terribly wrong, that team should have won 3 championships. When things went terribly wrong was when the power struggle carried into the next season, and there were clearly 2 factions, and it was Ryan against Ditka. They were taking, Ryan was taking subtle shots at Ditka through the media.
And it all went downhill.
And that's why I'm always weary when an alpha male, I thought Greg Williams was that here. Yeah. I thought he was the alpha in the room. And I didn't know that was a good situation. Yeah. And
by the way, for the record, anybody that refers to themselves as an alpha male is definitely not an alpha male.
I appreciate
that. That's 100%.
You cannot call yourself
an alpha male. If you
call
yourself an alpha male, you're not. Yeah. You're hiding insecurities.
That's like calling yourself a man's man.
Right.
You're probably not.
Or calling yourself humble. Somebody else has to call you humble, my man.
Right. You can't do that.
Listen, I'm not worried about it with Brian Flores.
I'm not either. Yeah.
Brian Flores, I think, would have an opportunity to take a defense that has talent. Maybe not as much talent as we thought, but there's talent here. Let's not kid ourselves.
There is.
And Kevin Stefanski is basically going to say to Brian Flores,
do what you want.
Do what you want. Just kick ass. You know? And Brian, that's a great opportunity. And if Brian Flores turns around the defense, and if Deshaun Watson is the quarterback we think he is, the Browns will be really good next year. I know it's always wait till next year, and those are big ifs. I get it.
Yeah.
But if those things happen, the Browns will be a legit contender. They'll be good, and Brian Flores will get an opportunity to be a head coach.
Did you ever play for a coaching staff where the dog wasn't the head coach?
Yes.
And was it a problem?
Not really. It just
you hesitated.
Well, I'm thinking about it. It was bad when that person left and the other person was still there. Like the alpha male left.
Now then you got a void. Then you got a void of leadership.
There's a void. Like I remember, we went. My coaches that were there it was Jim Grove, and they all left and they packed up and they went to Wake Forest. So my defensive line coach Ray McCartney, like I feel like he was the only middle-aged dude I knew was single. Like he was still in the street. Like he was this white dude. He had his slick back game on. Like he ready to go. He be in 2 days. We like, where Ray going? We smell that brute. But Ray McCartney had that brute on. We knew he going out tonight. He got him a nice little fast date. Ray McCartney used to say, listen, famous for this. He said, hey man, don't tell me about the labor pains. Just show me the baby. Like, don't nobody care about them 9 months. Yeah. They say you get your now today you would probably get fired for that because they'd be like, you can't disrespect women like that. But he's saying, look, 9 months, they give you flowers in the hospital because you've delivered. He used to tell us it don't even matter. Listen, if you make the wrong play, you in the wrong gap, the only way you're gonna get talked to is if you did not make that play. And I said, I like you. Because I'm going to make all the plays.
So he was more about he was the math teacher that wanted you to get the right answer.
Right answer.
But didn't care if you showed
however you got there.
However you got. And that type of coach for a defensive player is a godsend. Because you know what they're going to do? You're going to go out there and play your game. And that's the thing about high-priced players and Pro Bowl players. You just want them to play their game. They say, Odell Beckham isn't precise on his routes. That's not his game.
Yeah, he's not a route runner. He's a ball catcher.
He catches. Just figure it out. Myles Garrett need to be on that type of time.
McNuggets, I'm going to start with you, and we'll all weigh in.
Okay.
You're Jimmy Haslam.
Yes.
I don't know if Stefanski gets to make this call.
I'm cashing out all my stock right now.
First of all, if I was running a team, my head coach would hire all of his assistants, period.
For what it's worth.
I don't want an analytics guy telling me who to hire. I don't want a GM telling me who to hire.
For what it's worth, Stefanski did say in his press conference it was his decision to fire Joe Woods.
And I believe him.
True or not,
well, I do believe him because I think Stefanski, if he says something, I think that it's true. What I have to wonder about is what he doesn't say.
Which
and he came out and said that he was the one that told Joe Woods that he was fired. I was glad to hear that, and I hope it was his decision. I hope it wasn't forced. And I hope that Jimmy and Andrew Barry have empowered him to make the next selection. That's a real strict fraternity. If you haven't been a member of it, you don't get it.
Yes.
Let the head coach pick his head assistant coaches. You're Kevin Stefanski.
Yes.
Who are you hiring?
I mean, Flores is my number one choice. And I'll 2 reasons. A, we just watched a defense that was passive, rushed forward, played coverage, and it drove us all crazy because we wanted to see more aggression.
Right.
Schwartz is only going to rush forward. Like, he's not a blitzing defensive coordinator. He wants to get pressure with his 4 guys, let everyone else cover, play zone on the back end. I want to see Flores. I want to see a little more creativity. I think he can unlock Myles Garrett. And real quick on Flores and Stefanski and that relationship, if it ever came together, I've never talked to Kevin Stefanski in my life. Never once. But Aditi has, Jason has, and Mary Kay has. And they all told us yesterday in one show that Stefanski would not be intimidated by Flores, and he would be able to do his thing. Flores would be able to operate in his own realm without
he's comfortable.
Without
By
crashing.
the way, I
heads.
have talked to Stefanski too.
Do you believe that?
And this idea that he has this out of control ego and always tries to be the smartest guy in the room, I agree with them. I don't believe that. I think Jason said, I don't know if he said this off the air or on the air yesterday. He might have said it to me off the air. That sometimes the way he talks, it seems like he's being arrogant. It comes off that way, but that's not the intent.
And that's my point.
But he's not. I don't think he is at all.
I don't think he's ever said anything that's made me think he's arrogant.
Yeah.
I think it's
his coach. It's his coaching style. It's the fact that not just the media and the fans locally that have been screaming to use Chubb and Hunt together.
Yeah.
I've heard brilliant offensive minds in the national media and former players that have been in systems. Leroy Horde, who's going to be with us in a minute.
Yeah.
All scream and yell, why aren't we seeing these guys together? And Stefanski's refusal to do that is the reason that I've said, is this guy arrogant? Is he just trying to...
Yeah, I mean, we could argue whether he should do that, and I thought he should too. I just don't think it's because, I don't think he has a my way or the highway attitude in the end. And I agree with Brian Flores.
That's your choice too?
Yes, I don't want Brian Flores to be my head coach, by the way, all this talk about Brian Flores. Like, he may be a good head coach someday. He made some huge mistakes in Miami.
He did.
He handled, I don't love Tua. I know you don't love Tua, but he handled Tua poorly.
Very
The way
bad.
he handled him was a big mistake, and hopefully he'll learn from that. But I don't want it. I want him to be the head coach of my defense. I want him to blitz. I want him to be creative. I want him to turn Myles Garrett into all these other guys.
Well, I'm with you then. So that makes it
Let's go
3-0 Brian Flores. Who you want?
Man, let's go ahead and throw the cherry on the top 4-0 Flores.
Yeah.
And by the way, we worry about the wrong stuff. We 7-10. When you're a 7-10 team, ain't nobody done well enough to be thinking about what if next week or down the line we're gonna make Flores. No. Flores need to worry about getting his stuff back together in the league and repairing his image. And Kevin Stefanski sure as heck don't got no time to be insecure. If you are a head coach or you are anybody in a competitive sport, that's like saying we're going to invite somebody to come on the show and they insecure. All that's going to mean is they're not going to talk the whole show.
Some coaches are.
You can't have that.
I don't think Stefanski is.
I don't think.
And by the way, I don't know
think
who
he
said
is.
it yesterday. Maybe it was you. Someone yesterday said, no, the right way to look at this is my ass is in a sling.
I need somebody.
I'm about to get fired if this defense doesn't make major improvement. Who's the best person to help that?
That's all I care about.
That's it. And if you are concerned about bringing in an alpha guy because he might run over you, then you are definitely
You're not ready for the
head
job.
material.
Did you guys know, by the way, I didn't know till this morning, Flores has never been a DC.
Yeah, I saw.
Did you know that? He's never been
actually
in his whole career.
DC.
No,
Never
but he's
been a
always
DC.
been on the defensive side.
Yeah,
He's
he's
been on the defensive
linebacker
side.
coach, secondary coach.
So he
He
coached
just
under
Nobody ever gets named the DC.
Yeah, he coached under Belichick, so therefore you are not the defensive coordinator.
I'm just saying,
You're
this
my
dude's been coaching
defensive
forever.
elf.
He actually
And he
hasn't
was
been a DC.
basically the DC when he was in
Miami,
Miami
yeah.
for 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I'm just saying, never had
a
that.
their
good
defense
record.
was good.
They were his first year when they were basically tanking, or the owner wanted them to tank. They were dead. They were the worst defense. They were the worst defense before he got there. His first year, they were still dead last. The last 2 years, they were top 10 defenses.
If you got one coach that's passive and is not very vocal, you need one coach to be unlikable. like severely.
The good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, like Tim.
And that's what they would have.
One of my defensive coordinators was Tim DeRuyter, right? And Tim DeRuyter went on to coach Texas A&M and Von Miller and everybody else, right? And he's just not very likable. Shout out to Tim DeRuyter, by the way. Like, I mean, outside of the
Even
building,
though you don't like him, shout out.
It don't matter. One thing you couldn't do, you could not run the ball on us. It was just not gonna happen. Like, because that's what he cared about. He even was like, he was inflammatory. He'd walk up and start something with you. He'd be like, you're not looking good today.
You guys remember we interviewed Coach Curley in our pre-show?
Yeah.
That was Curley. I love Curly off the court. Yeah. I hated Curly on the court.
Hate him.
Well,
OB
listen,
was
most
very
of our
passive
favorite
and
coaches,
chill.
at least for me, I don't know, most of my favorite coaches in my lifetime were the biggest hard asses I ever played for. But the reason they're now my favorite is because when we're young, we're dumb. And we don't want to hear anybody tell us stuff we think we know.
Yeah.
But as we age and we look back, we realize how little we knew and how the toughest coaches were able to get the most out of us. And, for me, it was my wrestling coach who taught me valuable lessons outside of wrestling about discipline and self-drive and things that my baseball coaches never really were into because baseball's not that kind of sport. So I think to get a Brian Flores type in here, I think guys, we've been basically all year long begging for Brian Flores. We just didn't know it.
Yeah.
We've been begging for someone to stand up and show a pair and to care. And to push and to drive. Coach or player, where is it?
This defense needs it. And our secondary in particular needs to play with aggressiveness.
Just think about this. So usually as a man, you don't get to your earning peak performance and your earning power till you, mid-40s?
40s.
Mid-40s, right? These kids are, and I'm saying not kids, but young men are making more money than any other person that would be in that age group.
Sure.
And what I realize is I go back and look at my coaches. I look at it and say, I thought I was playing hard, but was I really playing hard?
Right.
I thought I was pushing myself, but was I really pushing myself? And then you look back at certain peers and you be like, well, I got responsibilities now. Back then I didn't. I wasn't working that hard. And
you thought you were.
You thought you was.
Think about
that's youth.
That's youth. The youth.
You think about the money you make in whatever job you do, like making the money I make now versus the almost no money I made when I was 25 years old. But what I would have done with the money then.
Oh, you've been in the street.
I would have just.
My dad had a funny line. He used to tell me, "There's a reason you don't make a lot of money when you're young." Because I was out of college, I was making $15,000 a year, and I was always complaining about it to my dad. He goes, "Your days are ahead.
Yeah.
When you're smarter and you won't screw up that money."
I would have pissed it all away.
And isn't that true though? Like we're not
100%.
ready for it. But for professional athletes, it's the other way around.
That's right.
They're earning all of their money before they're 30, and then after 30, they're looking around going, wait, where's that easy gravy train $5 million a year money?
And they wake up and don't understand, and you need a coach to be like, we don't care how much money you make. I don't even like you like that. As a matter of fact, when a coach work you so hard and he don't give you no compliments, he on you for every little small thing. When you get to the field, you not only is mad at the other team, you trying to prove something to him. Like, I can't believe you told me I wasn't no pass rusher on third down.
I know.
Hey, Clowney went and did that to Flores. There would not be no Clowney.
No, you're right. I don't think Clowney would have happened under Flores.
No.
I think, to me, and you guys played at a higher level of sports. All of you played at a higher level of sports than I did. But I would say, from my years in radio, I think the perfect boss, the perfect coach, is a guy. You know how we talk all the time about heart and analytics? You got to find a good balance. I think it's the same thing with a coach. If a coach is crapping on you all the time and shows you no love at all, you're going to be like, screw him. It's going to piss me off. I think it goes negative.
Right.
But if he's on you, but you feel like he's on you because he loves you and he wants to get the best out of you, that's the best coaches.
And that's the hardest gear to find.
That's right.
Coaches. Leroy Hord's on with us now. Before we get into this coach talk,